Hello and welcome to this session at Blockchain Week. This session is proudly brought to you by CoinSpot. Today we're going to be talking about minting your NFT 101, and I have with us here today Francois Schonken. He's the CEO of Growing Data, and Anurag Soin, the co-founder of Fitcus and director at ANZ. I'll pass the microphone over to you, Anurag.
Thank you. Thanks to the entire Blockchain Australia community for hosting such an amazing show. I'm not going to start with, although the title is NFT 101, I'm not going to tell you guys what an NFT is because I think you guys know really well. So we are going to get into the weeds by me asking Francois the first question. Francois, we have heard a lot about NFT today, but we also heard that at the heart of it, it is all about the data unit, which an NFT has. Can you briefly tell us about what is this data unit and what is the role in NFT?
I definitely can. I've prepared a bit of a deck. Today is going to be a bit of a hands-on experience. So we're going to go against one of the rules of the internet, never code live. We're going to do a little bit of that, and we'll see how we travel. So let's have a look at this deck and see how we go. Now, when you think on NFTs, there's been a lot of really high-quality conversations around the NFT space today. The one thing that it kind of boils down to is this notion of a unit of data. Now, what does that mean? In the NFT space, that kind of means anything you want it to mean. And the thing that's really, really good about it is you can point to a piece of data using a smart contract, which is publicly readable, which means you can't go and fiddle in secret and change a value. You can have something like a Bored Ape Yacht Club NFT that you can own and you can run with, and everybody can have confidence that that thing is being treated in a fair and honest manner.
That's awesome, Francois, because you said the word, the famous one. So I'm going to ask you that, can you show us this data unit in context to an NFT and show us like, how does it look? How does it feel? How does it connect to a smart contract?
Absolutely. So obviously primed the pump a little bit there, thinking on something like the Bored Ape Yacht Club, which is obviously a very popular NFT. Something that sometimes gets lost in all of the excitement around the blockchain is the fact that everything is really open and you can really go and investigate and figure out what's going on there. And you don't need to spend 5 years researching it to kind of get a basic grip of it. So at random, I've picked Bored Ape Yacht Club token number 9551.
It looks cool.
I think it's kind of cool, but I wouldn't go by my taste. Now, if we look at this NFT and we go and have a look on OpenSea, we will see a couple of traits associated with this NFT, and there's rarity associated with these traits. Now, that's simple enough. That's just kind of telling us, hey, this is how frequently this particular trait pops up in the collection. Now, what is the size of this collection? That's 10,000 NFTs. It being a piece of software, it starts at 0, goes up to 9999. Now, the interesting thing here is we have down here a reference to the smart contract that runs on Ethereum, and the token ID just so happens to be the exact ID that we see on the ape itself. Now, you asked me about the data unit.
Yeah, and the linkage.
Which is really at the heart of this. Now, how do we get at that data unit? So I'm going to give you a bit of a taster, and then we're going to do a bit of investigation. So the first thing, we will hopefully end up at something that looks like this.
Awesome.
This will be a reference to the image in combination with a selection of traits expressed in what is known as key value pairs. Now, I'm gonna close the deck for a bit.
So we have a JSON file here with key value pairs, where all the things which we saw on OpenSea, their values are here.
That is correct.
Awesome.
Now, admittedly, we do not have an articulation of the rarity in here.
Yes.
Because that is a value add of the OpenSea NFT market space.
Yeah, so it looks at the entire collection and say what percentage of these.
And it does extrapolation, and it's obviously in their interest because as a marketplace, on a fair amount of these trades, they get to take a clip of the trade.
Yep.
So they want to articulate rarity and get people excited, get a bit of movement in your community.
Yeah, I think I saw on your previous slide that the clothing one for this ape was the key one. I would love to see that. How does that connect to the smart contract, and how someone can actually go and find this information themselves? So that would be really cool.
Good.
So are you going to jump on the smart contract?
I've opened up a window, and it seems like that. I had warned we're going to go a bit techy here, so let's do the entire screen. Is that going to be? Just having a minor technical problem sharing screen.
So while Francois is doing that, and I think, okay, Google Chrome is up. So what we are trying to do now is actually go and see at a smart contract level, how does these data attributes get linked to a smart contract?
Absolutely.
And how does that get visible on OpenSea? Francois.
Good. So this is our ape, looking dapper as ever. We had said that we've got a couple of details down here, and we've got our selection of properties, and we'd like to get at this raw data in something better than just on my PowerPoint deck. Yep. Now, clicking on the contract,
I think there's a bit of lag. So for the audience, if you're seeing a bit of a lag, Francois has just clicked on OpenSea. We are trying to get his connection up and running. So here on the OpenSea page, when you click on details, what happens is you will be able to see what is the address of the smart contract, and that takes you to the Etherscan. And on the Etherscan, then hopefully we can see all the details related to the smart contract. The tech gods are not aligning with us. So Francois is having a bit of a computer issue. I think we are getting there in terms of network connection back. So give us a second while that comes up. So hopefully that will happen now. While that is happening, I think we'll continue the conversation, which is, Francois, we also talked about the data attributes. And one of the attributes which I saw on the screen was this thing called IPFS. And why is IPFS important? And what is the role which IPFS play here? If you can at least talk about that while we are having some connection issues.
Absolutely. So IPFS, which is known as the Interplanetary File System, is a interesting paradigm shift on what we know as traditional hosting, where you typically have a central server, and your server, apologies, this thing is giving me a hard time connection here. Your central server, and you go and you can ask the server for your file, and you will get some content back. Now, that is obviously subject to the party controlling the server acting in a fair and transparent manner, which you've got no gauge on. Now, in the environment that we want to be in, what you want to shoot for is you want to have something that's decentralized and shared amongst many folk. So having an address that points to a place on a server doesn't really get you there. Now, enter stage left, IPFS. IPFS takes a very different approach to getting at content. When you upload data into this peer-to-peer network, the upload strategy bundles your data together and then does something called a hash over it. I think a lot of folk here would understand what that is. And it then creates something called the CID, which is the content identifier. Now, when you interact with your IPFS network, you ask for the content identifier, and that is how you get at your content, and it also assures you that the data hasn't been tampered with. That gives us immutability. Now, I think we might have restored connection over here, so let me see if I can open up.
Awesome. So I think that the key takeaway from what just Francois has said is, as we said, the data unit is heart of everything. And the way the interaction work is, for any content, in this case, let's say an image, or let's say a song, which you want to connect it to the smart contract for your NFT, you want to do that via IPFS. And IPFS provides that guarantee that this content is truly decentralized in nature and not being altered with. While we were talking about that, we are able to get Francois' system back up, and back to the topic of, Francois, can I see this NFT data unit linked to the smart contract? and also see probably the IPFS as well, given we said everything is transparent.
Absolutely. So we clicked on OpenSea, we hopped on over into Etherscan, and that in turn is now showing us this contract on Etherscan, which is publicly accessible. I'm going to have a look at the contract. Just a quick aside, we happen to know this is a ERC 721 contract, so we'll see a couple of transactions there, but let's not lose ourselves in that. Something really cool in the contract, given that it's public, we can see the source code because they have submitted it for verification. And down here in line 69, we can actually see that they extend the 721 interface. That's how we've got confidence this thing will adhere to standards. I happen to know that they run this on the back of the Open Zeppelin pattern, which is a really highly trusted pattern or set of contracts. Now, back to your question, Anurag. Thinking on what is the data associated with this token, we happen to know that this is token number 9551. Queries on Ethereum cost nothing. Writing costs. So we're running a query, and there we have a CID for this piece of content.
Awesome.
Now, what I've done in preparation for our session is I created this poorly structured URL so that I can tag this here. Add that there. Boom. That is me reading via the Pinata service, which is a service we really love, the IPFS network on that address. And what you should find here is the attributes that we had touched on.
Awesome. So if people don't trust Francois, can you just, let's make sure we touch upon this. So we have traits there. Clothing is the second one. Background is there, fur is there, eye is there. Can you go to the Bored Apes collection and go to OpenSea and just validate that for everyone, so that we are not lying about this?
Yeah, so we're looking at a board, bone, blue, golden, 3D. And what do we have here? Board, bone, blue, golden, and 3D. So we've got a good match.
We got a good match. And the other thing which is very interesting is if you go back to the contract, and that was really interesting, that even your link to the image, which is linked to this Bored Ape, is also stored by IPFS. Can we see that as well?
Absolutely. And that's a really good call out. So a lot of people, when they think about NFTs, they're thinking about the image.
Yep.
But really, that is an attribute of this unit of data. And there's a lot of flexibility in this unit of data. If we've got a bit of time at the end of the session, maybe we could have a bit of a conversation on extended properties and maybe some of the impact on gaming, but we'll see if we have time.
There's a lot of cool stuff which we can do. But given now we have shown people the example of the image. So we have gone from taking this NFT example, and we are able to dig deep into what is the data unit which is attached. We are able to find the IPFS link, and we all just unpack that now, which is very, very, very cool. But I think we have done all of that, but people must be thinking, this is NFT 101. I just don't want to see someone has created an NFT and linked an image. I want to do it myself. So can we get a bit more spicy and try to help our audience to actually create an NFT, which takes advantage of our data unit, IPFS? That will be really cool, Francois.
Cool. Absolutely. That's what we're shooting for. So I'm going to run through a little bit of code here. And when I say a little bit, I'm talking like a teeny tiny little bit of code. But before I get into the code, let's have a look at the content.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to close down code so this doesn't scare anybody.
First off, I think, Francois, you have to reshare your screen because you're changing the windows.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Thank you.
We have learned the demo gods can likes a bit of blessing every time. So let's get that blessing.
Good.
Before jumping into the code. So
Good.
Now,
just confirming, can you see the code, the screen now?
It's coming up for me, and if it comes up, what I'm expected to see is how I can have my data unit and my IPFS images, which I'm going to use to mint my NFT collection.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, before I'm jumping into, or prior to jumping into this, let me tell you about this NFT collection. This is a super, super interesting collection. It is the collection of Blockchain Week days. So we've got an image for every single day. Associated with it, we have attributes. So what I've done, I've pre-crafted a set of images. So day one, over in Sydney, really good day. Day two, high quality conversations there. Day 3.
We are here.
And this is here you go. Now, using IPFS, obviously we've got a time constraint here, so I've already preloaded this into IPFS via Pinata.
Awesome.
On the back of that, Pinata has given me this CID. Now, if you recall, CID is content identifier.
Yep.
So basically what IPFS has done, it's taken those 5 images, compressed them, run a hash over it. That's the identifier.
Yep.
From this point until the end of time, when people go for that address, they will get our file.
Long live the IPFS.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Long live the IPFS. And then you do have short-lived options. Now, something interesting to note here is we have a suffix here.
Yep.
0.png. When we went to the Bored Ape, we did not have that.
Yep.
And that's just an articulation or expression of the fact that you don't need to always use the same type of data structures.
Yep.
So when I say that we've got flexibility in what that unit of data is, that's a proof point. Now, this was the CID that was generated for us.
Yep.
I went about crafting the various attributes. So we've got day 1, it was in Sydney, the venue, we've got the title, we've got all of our elements, and the same translates to our various days.
So just for our audience, this is equivalent to the traits which we had in the previous NFT. So the clothing, the eye color, the background, this is just equivalent for this collection of our blockchain week, where Francois has gone about and crafted a bunch of these attributes. That's pretty cool. And he has also uploaded all the amazing images to the IPFS.
This is true. So now let's start out by just validating that.
Yep.
And I'm going to have to do a stop as a share, and I will share the.
We believe in validation, and that's what Francois is trying to do as we speak now, where it will be good to see that these images, how they are uploaded on IPFS, so people can actually do it themselves. Pinata is a really easy service, as simple as you click a button, you upload your image, and you get the content. I think it's coming up, so Francois should be able to show us Pinata. This is my favorite IPS service anyway. So really cool.
It's a really good gateway, and it makes it so easy. Just a bit of a shout out. They've got a service, Submariner, which is around the private services, and they've got a new offering around making that even easier for people to opt into and then promote things into the public.
And Pinata has not paid us to say any of that, so I can trust you.
Fair enough. Now, I'm going to go ahead and click on Art over here. Let's open that in a new tab, and let's do the same for our metadata. And we should find something that looks like a little bit of a folder structure. This has a single CID associated with it. And when I click on the image, we've got that image.
Yep.
So hopefully, if all goes well, we'll see something akin to this in OpenSea. Now, if we hop on here into our data, we should be seeing data equivalent to the data we have. Now, the other thing that you should pick up on here is we have a CID for our data.
Yep.
Which in turn we will have to associate with our smart contract.
Yep.
Because that's the thing that OpenSea will interact with, and well, the entire world when they interact with the 721 will interact with. So I'm going to jump back into our code editor.
And Francois, you're planning to make this code available after the conference anyway, correct?
Absolutely.
Yep.
So just GitHub at Schonken, and you'll have access to the repo. We'll have links in there to the LinkedIn and all the good stuff. And then please feel free to interact, share, comment, tell us all the security challenges we have here, because this wasn't crafted to be super secure. It's crafted to illustrate a bit of a picture. But all that said, here's our very simple contract. We lean on the Open Zeppelin templates, which is just a really good practice. We've got our CID in here, and we say this is the name of our contract, and this is going to be a token.
Yep.
Or the symbol of the contract. Now, what I'm going to do is, rather than running something in a super complex thing, something like hard hat, which will be enterprise scale deployment, because we just want to get our hands dirty here, I am going to run this thing out of
Remix.
the browser. Oh, that's
the name.
That's spot on. We will be heading over to Remix. Remix is a in-browser IDE for Solidity, where IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment. Now, I've pre-baked this little contract. We've got it in there. I'm going to ask Remix to go ahead and compile this contract for me.
So people who are not technical, this is compilation actually creates the code base which get deployed onto the chain. So all the writing which Francois has on the screen, nothing goes to the chain. Actually, the bytecode part only goes to the chain. So
that is, you can elect to have a contract verified, and then people can see the source code. But in the deployment, absolutely, it's just your bytecode that goes to the chain. Now let's just confirm I'm on the Rinkeby network, which is one of the Ethereum test networks, and this is my account.
And he's very rich.
I'm in fake money. I've got a lot. It's the other type that's challenging at times. So we're going to ask Remix to interact with the Rinkeby network on my behalf, and we will be deploying our smart contract.
Awesome.
Now we'll submit that in here.
So what is not coming on the screen, and this is for the audience, is a pop-up via MetaMask to sign the transaction. If you read what is below is Francois has confirmed he want to pay the fees to deploy the bytecode. And now we just got the confirmation that on the block number 1037, the contract is being deployed.
That is correct. Now, I'm going to keep it very simple. We know we've got 5 of these tokens. We could do something very complicated around do pre-minting and running with it. I'm just going to mint all of the tokens to myself, and hopefully we can see them in OpenSea. So I'm going to grab my own address.
Yeah. So again, a pop-up came to confirm the transaction that Francois wants to mint the NFT via MetaMask on the screen. And he has signed that transaction as we speak. And now I think the transaction is going on the blockchain.
Yep. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, and I think OpenSea will see the contract, but probably not have our, first off, we're on testnet, so I need to run OpenSea on testnet. I can't go into the production one. It's found our contract. It's going to say unnamed, and shouldn't be too afraid when you see this. Basically, it just means that OpenSea hasn't had enough time to do a cross-check on the naming convention. If you have a name that's already occurred, OpenSea will suffix it with like a V2 or a V3 or something like that. It does the same type of thing around retrieving your images and basically receiving your content on the back of it. Now, I know we're running a little bit tight on time, so rather than us sitting here and waiting for OpenSea to show us the contract, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a different OpenSea instance and go to a version of the same contract that I had deployed last night. And let's just walk through it and see if it matches up what we were expecting.
Awesome.
So, and this time it's showing it. So I've done a couple of mints.
He has practiced a lot, you can see here.
Indeed, I have. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this contract, which is the contract that we practiced on last night. This one has already had its metadata synced through the OpenSea ecosystem. You'll note this is the second version of it. But now for a couple of cool things. I minted all of them to myself.
You're greedy?
I'm super greedy and fake money. I've got my 5 items over here. We'll see we've got our items with their respective pieces of art. And then on a per item basis, we've got our detail in our contract with our token ID, but more importantly, we've got our properties.
And properties are as per the data unit which we have defined.
Absolutely, per IPFS, which is a really good outcome.
So Francois, you're telling me that when we see these $1 million collections, we have exactly gone and done a similar thing. Definitely, we are not able to build the art, which is worth millions of dollars, but technically speaking, we are able to replicate what has been done. So I think the message to all our audiences, you can do this. If you are an artist, and there are much easier platforms as well. Today, we wanted to walk you through with an example of how to go end to end and understand NFT at the depth, because it's all about the data model which you have behind your NFT. That is the hard bit. Once you have that sorted, technology is the easy bit. I think hopefully this would have taken a bit of fear out of the people.
Yep.
Francois, what are your comments?
I think this is a very, very exciting space. Maybe worth thinking on what is next for NFTs.
Yeah.
So there's questions around, well, we've got this metadata, but this data isn't something you can interact on. So everybody's talking about NFTs in gaming. What does that look like? And what does the interaction pattern look like between having something on L1s or L2s? And maybe a bit of a thinking on some roll-up strategies, and what does that mean for us?
Thank you, Francois, for that. I think we're running a bit out of time on this one. So let me just check with the operators and organizers. Do we have some time, or we should stop now, given it's 2:55 dot?
Thank you. Well,
Thank you.
Let's bring that to a close. Everybody, thank you for your time. Hope it's been informative. Don't be shy about reaching out. Always happy to have interesting conversations about blockchain.
Thank you.
Cheers.